And I gotta say, honestly, I think that we still, I think, and it's my take that the inflation rates are going to be transitory and that we're not going to see a long lasting spike. And I think that that's going to do overall well for our growth plays and our innovation plays. And I'm pretty excited about the future of that. I got WEBULL up and running. We have the FOMC minutes today coming out at 2 p.m. and that could really be something. We also have JOLTS talking about the jobs that we have. That comes out at 10. So this could be kind of a funny open for us for a little bit till we really see where things are placed in. And around that 2 o'clock hour, good or bad, a lot of times it seems as though we can expect a dip right around that time and then usually a pretty quick recovery after that. So for you day traders out there, that might be one of those things that that you're holding back on, that you're waiting for that sort of momentum to come through. I'm going to share out my screen. We have about, it looks like about 5 minutes until the market opens. There we go. All right. And make sure that I'm sharing my screen for WEBULL. All right. So there's our screen. We got that going. All right. So I have the Amazon chart up here, and they just had an incredible day. Woo! There we are. I mean, look at that jump. Even if we zoom out a little bit to see such a large day on a blue chip stock like Amazon, just incredible for them. Their growth trajectory is far from over. So it's amazing seeing them getting close to that $4,000 mark all the while. And to think that they still have more growth ahead of them. And I forget what their market cap is. If they were, they're huge right now. Is it a $1.7 trillion market cap, or maybe even they're pushing that $2 trillion mark? And still with lots of growth ahead of them, they broke that double top that they had right around that $3,500 mark, and clearly up above that. Let's see where they're trading in the pre-market hours. There we go. So you can actually see a decent price wall for support that we have right around that $3,700 mark. And, that's always subject to change. As soon as the market opens, we can really find out where where that support is. But just an incredible, even if you look at the trading volume yesterday, we have a lot of excitement going into Amazon. And you can look at their analyst estimates, that really bullish price target that we have of $5,500. Just astounding to think about their growth. And depending on your age, I remember when Amazon first came out, it was absolutely, to me, nothing to really be excited about other than like being a book nerd that I am. Looking at thinking that you could order books online and get them to you, and then ebooks being a thing with the Amazon Kindle. Another incredible innovation that they had there, but turning into the just the online giant that they are, that everything that Amazon is. I mean, it's just been a really great success story for Amazon. Um, even if it did really weaken some other areas for brick and mortar retail, for instance, that could be something that you could say not so successful for them. But it that was pretty awesome to see play out. I couldn't watch this in real time yesterday because I was flying. I was on an airplane. I didn't have any Wi-Fi until I landed, and that was around close to 7 p.m. Eastern time. So stock market, there was like an hour left in the after hours, and I was fighting my way through the airport at that point in time. Let's look at some of the other things that we have going on here. In crypto, Polkadot up almost 10%. And let's go to the daily chart that we have here. The recent rally in crypto, actually, I guess I should go to CoinMarketCap if we're going to take a look at this. But nice thing about Polkadot, we at least have enough here when we look at the daily, that we are up above that little bit of resistance that we had. We'll see this trending upward that we have. We could finally start to see a reversal taking place there. And if we go more to the bigger altcoins such as Ethereum itself, there we go. I do like Polkadot, but Ethereum I think is going to be our champion. And recently, let me see what we got here. We're on the daily chart, and again we had this nice little bounce. We're down all the way back to June, the low price here about $1,700 or so, back up over 2,300 at that point, and we'll see if we really recover from this recent sell-off that we had. I think the ETH 2.0 evolution that we have taking place as that plays out is really going to be where we start to see that strength come through, and as the IP 1559 also comes to fruition, I think that will also when we start to see that base fee burn taking place, and as we move over to proof of stake and we have less inflation, about a tenth of what it currently is, from 4.5% annual inflation for Ethereum to only 0.45% annual inflation for Ethereum, along with that base fee burn. It's just going to really help out with that. Well, take away some of the selling pressure that we have through the miners, and then also less being produced. And so it should be tightening the supplies, and also along with the increasing demand, I think that we're going to see some pretty awesome price action for Ethereum as the years play out. Hey, thank you very much, Turkey. I appreciate it, and no problem. It's good to be back. It was definitely difficult. I mean, I really enjoyed my honeymoon, and I made sure that that's where I put my focus, my attention. But it is nice to be back. I don't like to take long breaks away from stuff like this, especially when I have a community that does like to watch. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Jerry. It was wonderful. It was just enough relaxation that it's motivating to be back here. We have market open in about 20 seconds here from what I got. So let's see what else we have going on. There we go. SoFi is one that, I mean, recently just has had a really rough time. And I believe that that is the banking charter that they're working on. And I think that, for me, I still don't have a position in this one. I know that that Stockmo, he's still one of my favorites. I know that this is one that he covers and one that he's bullish on, and he's pretty good at looking at the fundamental. I say pretty good. He's excellent at looking at the fundamentals of company and looking for the potential that they have, and he's had a lot of success. So the fact that he's so excited about SoFi means that it does merit my attention. And this is one that I had talked about before I went on my honeymoon, and we'll just need to watch and see what takes place. All right, our market's open. There we go. I expect that we're going to see kind of mixed results, maybe even a little bit of a sell-off in the morning today ahead of FOMC minutes, and especially with the financial tightening happening maybe earlier than expected. And so that's something that is, if you haven't ever checked out discounted cash flows, you should look and see how that discount rate affects future earnings, especially when you talk about high growth companies, because that really can explain some of the price action that you see in the stock when you look at how it affects their future valuations. So just for a quick example, let's say that if we're expecting 2% inflation over the next 4 years or so up to 2025, and we look at that company's expected earnings up through 2025, that they're expected to make $500 million. Well, with 2% inflation, that could really bring it down to, I'm just going to make up a number here, but it could mean that it would be worth more like $400 million in present day value. So as of today, that's what it would come out to. Whereas with 4%, it would cut it down to more like 300 million. And I'm not working with hard numbers here. It's something that I'm probably going to be putting out sooner than later. Just looking at different companies and showing those discounted cash flows, but just to see how it really affects how much the company is worth and how much it's trading at for when you look at multiples and even forward multiples. That inflation, should it ever hit, is definitely something that's going to hit high growth hard because of the money that they haven't made yet, and also because of the inflated amount washing out the earnings that they have. So those are things to be aware of as you look at the different companies. And high growth, I know, is an area where people are really excited about. NNDM had a nice big run up to $9.30. Now it's back down under $8. This is definitely one of those, I'm going to call it fringe plays, highly excited. So it's one that if we get really positive news that there's going to be a lot of momentum that backs it, and we could see a lot of price action that goes with it. But it's all based on the fundamentals of the company and their potential future worth that they have, and also their ability to capture a large part of the market share, which from Yoav Stern himself, the CEO of NNDM, $25 billion is what they consider their market opportunity that they have. And that doesn't mean that they'll capture all 25 million of it. But that's something for them to grow. I'm sorry, 25 million, 25 billion. It's something for them to work up to over time. And I think right now, I'm not even sure that they made hundreds of millions of yet in revenue. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. I think they're in the tens of millions, but they also haven't hit full commercial stage thanks to what we have with um, thanks to what we've had with the pandemic, that they've done quite a few capital raises from their we'll call it stock price, a fortunate stock price action that they've had with a lot of the excitement going into their companies. And they did frequent share dilutions. They're currently sitting on like almost $1.5 billion in cash, and that's like $6 of this stock price right now is in cash. And so really what you're risking on top of that is around $1.50 to $2, somewhere in that range, is the risk that you have right now given their cash position. And so while that's a significant fall from where they're at, it's still it gives you some support to find. So really the support level, when you see it down here selling off to 539, it was bound to go back up because their cash position alone is enough to support that stock price and their market cap. All right. So let's see what else is moving here on this list. And if you guys have anything you want to see, just let me know. And I'll most certainly toss that up there for you. All right. Angelito, good morning. Hey, thank you. It was a great honeymoon, and it's definitely great to be back. It really, that rhythm that you get from doing this daily live streaming, it was nice to fall into that rhythm. And then that first day back is definitely it's an adjustment, because I would wake up, I'd walk on the beach, and I'd have a cup of coffee, and Wi-Fi was okay in Jamaica. On the resort, it wasn't the greatest. So as far as trying to do trades and stuff, and honestly, I tried to buy some crypto, and my exchange did not like that I was in another country trying to buy crypto. So I sat on the sidelines for that one. All right. Let me see. Some of the other ones want to check in on. I was just reading up today again about Digital Turbine, seeing how they're doing, and their continuing ability to capture market share. So I was watching their price action take place. I think that 70, you can see what we have here with the 50-day moving average, that if you see them dip below 70, that they usually tend to go right back around that. And with the moving average currently sitting at about $68, I would say that that's about right for right now. And I wonder if there was any news. Let me see, July 2nd. Or let me see, July 2nd, that was Friday. There was a big market sell-off that day, at least as far as tech goes. And apps is definitely a tech, or Digital Turbine, I should say, is a tech play. And so that could definitely be something that would affect that. So if today is the 7th, it'd be 5 days ago. There we go. 4 profitable stocks boasting amazingly high net income ratio. Micron. Oh yeah, well, I'd take a look at MU. They're crushing it right now too. All right, so we'll see what takes place. Honestly, I think that we could see these numbers come back in for Digital Turbine. So having that, let me see their analyst estimates. There we go. I was going to say 50% upside because I remember the average being around $105, and it says $107.60. So right now, like $35 up from where they're right now would be a 50% upside from this price over the next 12 months. And it's for a company that continues with their acquisitions and is really working into the digital advertising space on Android devices by allowing people to have immediate access and advertising revenue. And really just, I think that they're going to grow into their own over the next 12 months. And I think that's going to justify a lot of that valuation that we saw. That previous high that we had of 102.56. What else do we have here? At like $93. Just looking at some of the resistance that we have ahead of us. And as a matter of fact, just with intraday, looking at some of the level 2 action that we have, it looks like stopping us right around $70 or so. Lots of sell side pressure. It could take us back down to this area of support here for the 50-day simple moving average. But back to resistance, so like $93 to $23. So like a 30% upside, I think would be sort of at like a reasonable low-ish end over the next 12 months if they continue to their growth, and if tech and high growth really do win for the second half of 2021. I was just listening to Kathy Wood from a few days ago, talking about how the foundation is being laid right now for innovation in tech and high growth. And also Goldman Sachs, I believe it was a few weeks ago, also coming out with talking about tech and high growth being the second half winners for 2021. So we'll see how that plays out. Again, those FOMC minutes and looking at what the Fed does for quantitative easing and their financial policies, if they keep them easy and loose, and if they don't tighten very, very soon. Of course, it all depends on that news that we have coming out. That could really tell us a lot of what we have. Let me hit the percent change here, see what else we have moving. Energy, Vaxxer is still up there. Nova, Litecoin is there, and tech. Very nice. Let's check in with our friend Neo. Neo back up over the $50 mark, at least as of last night. I didn't check on him this morning. There we go. I might have to close down WEBULL at the moment. It doesn't seem to like my keyboard of all things. There we go. Yeah, maybe I have it over here. I should have it over here. There we go. Let's alphabetize these. We'll make that easier. There we go. There they are. There's our boy. Who else we got here? APTY is oh, nice. AMC, it's at 2 cents. It's a fintech stable coin that just awarded settlement against Apple. Nice. I'm going to have to check into that mysterious MM. Thank you very much. Charge point long term in your view. Perfect. All right. So let me talk about Neo real quick, Angelito, and then I'll come back to charge point next, since we're sort of in the same vein there. Finally, we have the 50-period simple moving average turning back up toward the 200 period, and that's a bullish signal for us. That you want to see them converge on each other, where that faster moving indicator crosses the slower one. So that could be a golden cross for us. And we actually have a decent pennant type formation. And let's see where we topped out at. The high back here was $55. And then where did we close at for that day? About $51 or so. So a lot of excitement. And then it came ripping right back down. And where does that put us resistance wise if we go right across there? Not too bad. This one a little bit higher, $57. And across these, $64. All right. So Neo expanding, good. Chip shortage still sort of weighing on them a little bit. And they're not at that 50% mark for deliveries. They had excellent deliveries for June. It was a record-setting set of deliveries for June. Really, we're looking into, what's Q3 going to look like and Q4 going to look like. And right now, they're just over 40,000 vehicles delivered, I believe, right around that 40,000 mark. And they're anticipated to produce 95,000 vehicles throughout 2021. So they haven't hit that halfway point by halfway in the year, but they are expected to accelerate their vehicle deliveries throughout the second half of 2021 compared to the first half of 2021. And then their big year, and this is according to Goldman Sachs, and putting out there, I think it's I want to hesitate here. I think is the ES8 maybe is the model, whatever the new model it is that's coming out in 2022. Highly anticipated. They start production in 2022, and we should also see how that impacts their deliveries. They're opening up a whole bunch of new charging stations and everything. This coming back up to that $60 price tag. I think we're going to see that as long as EV continues to perform strong throughout 2021. I think over years-long horizon, EV is just going to proliferate beautifully, and being in it now is not. I mean, let me speak in the positive. Being in it now is a great time to be an EV before we really hit a saturation point for EVs. It's taking more and more of the market share over ICE vehicles, and Neo being top dog right now in China is definitely not a bad place to be. Xpeng also not a bad place to be. And right now we're seeing a bit of a price squeeze. So really, EVs in general, how they perform in the market is going to determine the near-term price action that we see for NEO. Long term, I actually want to take some time this week and I want to project out where they're going to land long term this year. If they keep on hitting their delivery numbers and keep on hitting their targets, and they have give us great reason to believe that they're going to continue to meet or exceed their goals that they have, then we see more of that price into valuation, putting us easily up into the mid to high 60s by end of 2021. So we'll have to see how the market responds to that and how things continue to go for NEO, but they have the government backing them, and the Chinese government will not let that easily go by. You know, when they put their faith behind a company like that, it can be a good thing for investors. We always have to watch out for trade tensions with China. That's something that I think is just going to be ongoing for a long time. All right, where's our friend ChargePoint? Oh, that's right. It's still not letting me type. I might have to take a moment to restart WEBULL. Oop, wrong way. Still learning my alphabet. There we go. There's our friend ChargePoint. Oh, nice. All right. So I say nice, but only nice because this is something that I don't believe it would be specific to ChargePoint, that when you get this little bit of a sell-off, they're expected to be between $36 and $40 or so as a 12-month price target. There you go. 37.50 they have there, 46 for the bullish case out of the 8 analysts that are present on WEBULL. And if there's 8 of them, that means one person says hold, 4 people say buy, and 3 people, 3 analysts rate it as a strong buy. So when we check this out, I think that ChargePoint is definitely going to continue to being the leader that we have. And so watching that infrastructure play and bipartisan support would definitely be something huge for that, especially if it helps to control corporate tax rates. If we get that big spike in corporate tax rates, that can definitely affect the earnings of companies. And we don't, as investors, we don't want to see that take place. This is looking a lot like what we saw with NEO, where that faster moving average that we have is about to cross that slower moving average that we have. This is the 50-day and the 200-day. The 200-day is still on top, positively sloped, so we're still in bullish territory because our stock prices are trading up above that. So seeing this move back up to, where were we at here? $35. So moving up 10% from where it's at now, as long as we don't get a big sell-off in tech and high growth like we saw before, moving back up with the market could definitely be something that we see take place. I think today is just going to be, it's going to be rough until about 2 p.m. And really we could see a sell-off around 2 p.m. or we could see it in some places, maybe even a little bit of a run-up until we hear what the FOMC has to say in their minutes. And then once that comes out, and probably by about 2:30, we should start to see all of that information being digested. I don't see it going any longer than 3 o'clock before we really see how the market's going to react and close the day. So really what I think, whatever we see by 2:30 to 3 o'clock, 2:30, I think, because it seems to be when the minutes come out, it seems to be about 30 minutes or so of maybe some sort of sell-off, or maybe if they give us really, really positive news that we get some sort of rally. Either way, I expect volatility. There's going to be big moves one way or another around the time that those minutes are released. And depending on what we hear, that's going to determine which way we go into the market close. So those are things that we want to watch out for. So ChargePoint long term, I see us getting back up into those mid to high 30s by the end of 2021, as long as things stay strong for tech, high growth, EV. And right along with EV goes the EV charging. So they're ones that I'm bullish on. They're the only EV charging play that I hold right now. I did have Blink early on before it really took off. Let me see. I think I have that in here as well. If not, I can bring it up. There they are. All right, so Blink is actually sort of at a cool point right now. I had Blink way back. How much were they? I think I bought them when they were around around $8 a share. So right around this point right here. And then I made, I think it was probably maybe around this day or so, maybe it was a little bit before. I watched it go up maybe 25 or maybe even, let me see, $8. Well, so yeah, about 25%, I think it was, because I saw it go up over 10 quickly. And so I took profits. I was like, 25% in a few days. Thank you very much. I will take that. And then this happened. So I sold, and then I watched it go up, and then I watched it go up, and then I watched it go way up, and then I saw all of this happen, and that was painful because I know you can't go on hindsight, and I was very pleased with the 25%. But thinking of going 8x, because this thing going up to $64, even if I mistimed it and I caught it, more down here when it was 5x waiting just a month and a half to 2 months for a stock to go 5x on me. That was definitely something that I should have held out for. I was actually planning on just to buy back in if there was a little dip or something. But that's what happens when you do those short-term plays, is that it will make you money. But if you're really looking for wealth, buying and holding is still one of the best one of the best strategies that you have. So really finding those high conviction plays at reasonable prices, those are the things that you really want to look for. And buy them and hold on to them. And that's where you're going to capture those big multiples over time rather than trying to time the markets, because nobody is really all that excellent at timing the markets. Catching the top or the bottom, usually we're somewhere in between, and then also paying tax on top of it can really affect us. So where are we at? So we're sitting sort of near support right now with Blink charging right around that 37. Analyst estimates on that. Okay, so looks like we have prices that are just right around where the same prices for ChargePoint, a much smaller company, and we have 5 analysts instead of 8 analysts, and we have 4 saying buy it, 1 saying hold it, and there's no strong buys on this one. This is probably running a little bit richer than what ChargePoint is, if I had to put a guess out there, because I believe ChargePoint, being the larger company that we have, and I believe that they also have more revenue coming in on top of that. CCIV, while we're at it, we'll take a look at Lucid and see how they're doing. There we are. There's that sell-off that you saw when we looked at ChargePoint as well, bringing us back down. Trading right now at $26 per share. I don't think that puts us in too bad a shape. Puts us pretty much even across the bottom that we have right here at about 26. We might be able to rely on that a little bit for support, especially when we look back to this price that's over here. So 25 to $26, somewhere out in there. And then we fall down after that to about 22-ish dollars per share. So really, the good thing is if you follow this line that we have from the bottom here, 17.25, across that little bottom, the bottom's here, and this bottom, we're currently sitting, I think we're at a good spot right now. And I think that we're seeing a lot of bigger market action taking place that's affecting the price that you see for CCIV right now. And really, we can expect anything as that merger comes around. That date is escaping me. Let me see. Registration statement says July 22nd as date of stockholder. There you go. So this is probably the special meeting that they like to refer to. And if it's July 22nd, that would be, let me think for a moment. I'm much better with calendars. I have to look and see what day of the week that is. Maybe you guys know. Morning, Luis. All right, we'll get to Romeo Power here soon. So the special meeting, July 22nd. Maybe we'll see a little bit of run up. Hey, we actually have a little blip of 200-day showing up finally for CCIV. They'll switch over to being LCID if that meeting gets approved. So if you are a shareholder of CCIV stock right now, you'll have a chance to vote for that merger for the special meeting through your broker, whoever it is that you have for your broker. So for me, I'll place my vote, and if they have enough votes, then the merger will go through. And if they don't have enough votes, and that happened with ChargePoint, that actually got delayed because for their special meeting, there was not enough shareholder voting to actually approve the reverse merger, and so they stayed what was it, SBE, Switchback Energy. They stayed SBE until about a month later, and then there was enough votes then to actually approve the merger, and then they became ChargePoint. So we don't want to see that happening with Lucid. It's certainly something that could happen, and this is one that really will see how accurate the demand is based on the reservations that they have for their vehicles. And we want to look at vehicle production and then also vehicle deliveries. And those are going to be two main drivers that we have long term for CCIV as they rotate out of 2021 and really hit 2022, which is especially what chip shortage should hopefully start to be subsiding even more as we get into 2022 and be less limiting, and also getting out of the pandemic. Those should all be very positive things for CCIV moving forward. And I think if you look off these lows that we have, I think finally we hit a reverse where we have this low, or I'm sorry, this high, and went higher, higher. And right now our lows are staying higher. So it seems as though we could be returning to bullish territory for CCIV, along with a lot of other tech, high growth EV type plays. All right, Romeo, that's definitely in here as well. A little bit farther. There we go. Anybody else sing the alphabet when they go through and, oh, it's RMO. I'm looking for ROM. Well, it should be here, but I'm not seeing it here. All right, so here's what we'll do. Let me come over here, and I'll switch that on for the moment. There we are. I want to close out WEBULL and restart it, and then with that done, hopefully I'll be able to type in it as well. So I lost my train of thought. Not for the first time. I'll tell you what, relaxing for an entire week is sort of relaxing, but I'm not somebody who sits still very long, and I'm also not somebody who does leisure a lot in my life. For me, leisure is like 20 minutes, sometimes if we have a family movie night or something like that, it'll be, 2 hours or so. I'll usually take some time each day, but certainly not a full day and certainly not a full week. And so coming off of that is so disorienting. There we go. Let's get back to the stocks. There we go. So WEBULL's back up. Let's see if it actually lets me type now instead of making, there we go. That'd be much easier. So here's Romeo. So where did they sell off from? June 9th, and they're still selling off. So I believe that this was Luis that was asking about RMO. There we go. So energy, I know energy for a while was selling off. I know that it also was one of the leading sectors after some of the sell-off. And I have this trend line here on the daily chart drawn. And it looked like we finally may have been turning things around. However, we're still under the 200-day. The 200-day is still a negative slope. And so we're still sort of in bearish territory with that. And the 50-day was acting as support for a while, but now we broke that. So now we're looking at these lows. And from where we're sitting at right now, so that's almost $7 right now. It's about, actually I can put right there, 740-ish or so. So the nice thing about the sell-off, if it's a company that you really believe in its fundamentals and it's something that you really feel is going to turn around based off the research that you've done and the due diligence that you've done and whatever sort of price that you see for it. And for this one, the analyst estimates out of the 5 that are covered here on WEBULL, there is significant upside to experience. You would want to see, I mean, some of this could just be with the rest of the, some of the market with some of these higher growth plays still selling off in general. But when you see that take place, when the price does drop, it really is when you make a purchase on a price drop, it really is a bit of a de-risking would be a way to look at it. Because as it does drop, that means that there's less room for it to drop overall. So while I wouldn't say, and I can't say to buy it or not to buy it or sell it, I can't say any of that. at these prices, as we start to get back down towards these lows that we've had, and it looks like they are all-time lows for the company as a publicly traded company, then you're starting to look at less risk. From here, we have a decent amount of room to fall to here. Low price 691, so just below 7. And here our area of support that we have 672 down to 633. Putting in a brand new low, depending on what it is. If we don't see company specific news, it could definitely be something that it could just be a lot of bearish sentiment on it, or that there could be bear reports coming out. It could be heavily shorting of the stock. Those are all different things that can really push down the price. And when they put in a new low, we typically get a decent bounce off of new lows. So for instance, if you take a look, so this was a new low at one point in time, and we see the bounce. The hard thing about that is timing that bounce. In other words, really trying to look for where that signal is of a reversal. And I mean, it's so easy to be misled or to have it timed wrong. So those are things you want to watch. Here we put in a brand new low, and we have a huge bounce coming off of that. New low, bounce, new low, bounce. So if this does put in a new low below this $6.33, typically we'll have a bounce that takes us back up beyond that low, if that makes sense to you. So for me, as a swing trade type, where you watch those bounces take place that take you back up above those previous lows that came before, it could be a short-term way to play it. If you want to think about it that way. Again, the hard part would be timing. How exactly do you know just how far it's going to go down, and how far is it going to bounce back up? Because I mean, there's always a risk in what you do. And so if you did that, you would want to set up maybe a bracket order where you would have a stop loss set, and you would also have a price set for where you would also take those. So a sell stop and a sell limit, in order to protect the downside, and then also make sure that you capitalize on the upside, for example. Long term, I don't know what's causing this sell-off right now. If this is energy in general, or if this is short selling pressure or whatever that we have. There is short interest here in WEBULL. No data to report on it. So until we get those reports, we wouldn't know. I don't know if this is hard to short or not. But you would definitely want to read up and try and find an explanation for what exactly is going on here, and determine, is this something that is transient? Is it going to pass for the company? Is it something that people are looking for good entries on Romeo Power? Once you find an explanation for what's causing the sell-off, or something that you believe to be causing the sell-off, then you can start to question if it's going to be something that's going to be lasting, or if it's something that's going to what's the word I'm looking for? If it's going to go away over time, if it's going to dissolve over time, and then we see the company really start to come to profitability. I don't know if they're profitable yet. I'm guessing that they're not profitable yet, being that they joined via SPAC. So that would be something I have to look at. BNGO in a year. All right. Ooh, very nice. Okay. So going back, May 13th, we talked about on this channel a whole bunch of times, and had a really nice ride back up. Good that it came back to strength, and then recently sold off. And that should start to look very familiar these past few days for everybody, as we start to see those prices come back out. We broke the 50. So now, instead of having support, we have resistance. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get good news from the Fed minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a decent bounce on this one. Let's look intraday and see how it's going. Ooh, look at that sell-off. Got a nice little staircase taking place. So I'll take a look at the news in a moment, see if there's any sort of catalyst that's driving this. I'm guessing that there's not. I think that this is just moving with the overall markets that we have. So big sell-off, what would that be? Thursday, and then Friday, and then Tuesday. And now here we are at Wednesday. And let's go to news. Let me see. Announces significant progress in China with. Ooh, very nice. So we have coming from Reuters, Reuters, however you want to say it. We have I always said Reuters, and then Meet Kevin always says Reuters, and so I never know which way to go with it. But in any case, so for Reuters, more adoption of BNGO's Sapphire system, excellent. Again, we want to look at their R&D that they have, see how that's going. That's always going to cost them money. It'll keep them from being profitable, but coming out with those new developments and furthering their patents and protecting their intellectual property, those are definitely things that are going to be ongoing for any company like BNGO. Also moving with genomics in general is also something that we want to watch out for. Looking for those single nucleotide variations. If they do get down to that level, I think that's going to be an enormous catalyst for them, because I believe it puts them in a very niche spot in the genomic space, a space that nobody else has really captured. So that's definitely something we want to watch for as well. So as far as news goes, I'm not seeing anything that would be. There's stock sinks as market gains, but that goes with a lot of other tech and stuff that we saw. Okay, just wanted to check that quickly. So if you look at these previous sell-offs that we've had, and if this is moving like the other ones, and we're about the 10 o'clock hour right now, we could start to see this start to reverse a little bit. I don't know that it would be a complete reverse given what we've seen in the recent trend. I'd imagine that it will stay lower from where it opened, so it could still be a red day for BNGO. But now is when I think that we'll start to see some of the bouncing take place, and it'll start turning around again, at least a little bit. Even, let me see. So this is the 5-minute chart that we're looking at. Sell, sell, sell. Lots of selling. This is the first hammer candle that we got right here in the 5-minute chart. Let me zoom out a little bit. Actually, I'll adjust it this way, so it separates from the volume a little bit. There we go. So you see that hammer candle right there, and then here we might get a narrow range doji. This thing could start turning around. I don't think it'll be a full recovery. I don't think that today that it will come back around to like the 650 mark. But I think that we'll start to see it turn back up this way, at least for maybe like a 50-ish% retracement or so from the bottoms that we had, 623, 659, so 36, 18 cents, so 641-ish, maybe around like this level where I have it. And look right now, following that hammer candle that we have, that upward pressure that we have where the bulls start to put in that sort of support, and then seeing that turn around. Usually I start to say that stuff and and then the technicals fail on me, but this time it worked out. So, huzzah to that. So we'll see how that plays out in the 5-minute. If we look at 1 minute, this might be a little bit too noisy. Job report is out already. Excellent. Yeah, we'll take a look at the job report. We'll see what JOLTS has to say. All right, so this is the 1 minute chart, and if this candle holds up here, if we get a narrow range doji candle coming out here, we could see it break this 633 and then start to rip upward again, bring us up to like the 640s in the near term. That might be a little bit too fast for people. But looking at this, analyst estimates on BNGO, anywhere from $10 to $14 for 12-month price targets. And if tech and high growth do win out for the second half of 2021, and if inflation stays relatively muted, that we end up somewhere around 2% to 2.5%, that we start to see that sort of settling, then we could start to see these as a bigger possibility. As that inflation rate goes up, it starts to wash out those future earnings. So those are things to watch out for. All right. So if I can type, there we go. There we go. Wednesday, July 7th, number of job openings changed a little, 9.2 million. Okay. So what we're looking for in here is we want to be careful that we're not getting any sort of, well, at least for the tech and high growth plays, because that seems to be where a lot of the excitement is for people. We do want to see that recovery. We want to see that we have more job openings, are more jobs being filled, and that we see that the labor is recovering. We don't want to see it happen too quickly. So let's see what we have. Zoom in for you guys. There you go. $1 million. Okay. Hires were a little changed at 5.9 million. Total separations decreased 5.3. Lower quit rate, that's good. Layoffs, discharge rate changed a little hit. Series low at 9.7. This rate includes estimates. There we go. Actually, let me not go beyond this one. So, the job openings rate was unchanged at 6%. Okay, job openings increased in other services, 109,000. State and local government, education, 46,000. So it looks like we have a lot of openings. Now we just need people to fill those openings. Education services, number of job openings decreased in arts, entertainment, and recreation. All right. State and local governments. Okay, hires in May. The number hiring 5.9 and 4.1 respectively. All right. I don't do a lot of this live when I read through this, because then it's a lot of me looking at it, moving my mouth, and then not really saying much. Overall, it doesn't seem like we have a lot that's surprising or a lot that's changed for us. So I don't think that this is going to be anything that rocks the market. It could signal that maybe recovery would be a little bit too sluggish. So that would be something that would drag us down, or it could be something that'd be too fast, and then there would be financial tightening, and then that would be something that would be too aggressive for us for growth, and then again that could wash out growth. So we need something right in the middle. So I don't know that JOLTS is going to move the market largely from what I see right now. So let's go back over to the markets, and let's go here, and let's see how the stock markets reacted to it. There you go. Let's maximize this one. So we go to 10 o'clock and we look at NASDAQ, for instance. NASDAQ has taken a deep dip, and I think that we're going to start turning back around. Dow Jones is this blue one that we have here. And I think that one we're also seeing a little bit of a bounce, and then the S&P somewhere around the middle, a little bit more muted over the bottom. So now that report's out, the market digests that news, and then we'll see how it responds to it. If we do start to see things turn, the NASDAQ dropping from where it was at way up here and then down to way down there. Yeah. So I think that part was okay. I think the bigger news today, again, is those FOMC minutes coming out at 2 p.m. So we really want to watch how the market reacts, and we could sort of have a wishy-washy and mixed day up till that point. Oh yeah, Bill, that's excellent to point out. There's definitely still a lot of money that is not being spent, and there are people who, with the money that they receive, such as unemployment, there are people who it makes more sense for them not to go back to work yet, and that's one of the big things that we have to look out for. Some people just need to get back to work and can't find those jobs, that they just that don't exist in the same way. I know for me, being an educator, there's been a number of positions that have been cut. As a matter of fact, my position was one of those positions that was cut, and basically that we can do more in the school with less people, so we might as well. And so that sort of shrinking that we have in the education, and then my brother-in-law's in the financial sector, and for him trying to find a job after being let go, he was actually mixed, because he worked for JP Morgan, and JP Morgan downsized, and then he also worked for a university, and then the pandemic hit, and then there wasn't as much need for his services at the university because they were facing huge economic downturn with tuition and all that. So being newer, having less seniority than the other people there, they let him go from that. And now trying to find something out of that has proven troublesome. So for him, he wants to go back to work, and it's just a matter of finding a place in order to work that will hire him. And he's already he's close to 50 years old. So for him, he comes at a higher price tag because of his experience, and with some of the companies who have been impacted financially, they don't want to hire people if it's going to cost them more money to do that all the time. So there's definitely things that we have to be careful of. I know that a lot a lot of people spent the most recent stimulus, and there are families in need who needed it for survival. But I know that there's people who also didn't need it as much, who used that money in order to fund their vacations. And while I was on my honeymoon, I actually talked to several different couples who were out thanking the stimulus check that was there. And it's one of the things that there's no perfect answer, because when you do that broad stimulus, and do all the money printing, you're giving a lot of money to a lot of people who do need, but you're also giving a lot of money to a lot of people who don't necessarily have that same type of need. But what's the good answer? How do you narrow it down and keep people happy? I don't know that I would want to have to be the one to answer those questions. I just know that even though it's not the best thing, what do you do instead? And I think that's the part where we really have that sort of struggle. There we go. Absolutely. The big question right now is work from home or return to office. And one of my friends who recently switched to work from home says that they miss the office. They absolutely want to be able to go back to the office just to have the adult interaction and just the human connection that they just miss from working from home. They still communicate through Zoom and other sort of media apps, but that mediation through technology is just not the same as being face to face and having those conversations. It loses some of the warmth. And so that's something that, even though it makes a lot of financial sense for businesses, we saw even up to, I'd say, the early 2000s, what happens with companies that made their choices strictly based off of financial sense versus basing their companies off of making human sense, such as Google is one of those companies that made it, and I don't know if this is still the case, but they made it a place that was awesome to work, that people wanted to work there and they wanted to go there, and they worked on making a positive atmosphere. And if we lose sight of that, if we lose the human aspect of it, that's something that can negatively impact our companies. And it really is a leap of faith from companies, because it doesn't sound like it makes financial sense at first. But when you have your people happier and you have them working harder and sincerely and leaning into their work and putting their life force into that work, it really can turn out in the financials, and it can turn out really well in the financials, because you actually have people who feel safe. And when that feeling of safety is there, then they can talk, and you get innovation, and you get really critical feedback that would otherwise be missing if they're working from a place of fear, that they want to keep their heads down so that their next or how to keep your head down so it doesn't get chopped off. I'm getting the saying mixed up here. I'm going to blame the honeymoon for that one. So this is Vaxter, one that's seen a lot of recent price action from when I started live streaming, and it still is sort of moving upward. We have higher lows and lower highs moving in, sort of making like a wedge formation here. And so this could be a catalyst away from a breakout in either direction. So we want to, if it's one that you like, if it's the one that caused you to come to this channel in the first place, I just want to bring it up for that reason. It's one that you might want to watch to take place. I believe they're pharmaceuticals. Yeah, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and okay, direct-acting antivirals treat infections, affect patients globally. Perfect. So this is going to be all about approvals and how well their drug or their treatment or their therapy, whatever it is that they're putting out there, how well that does. and FDA approvals, if that's something that's pending, or FDA actions in general. Those are things that could act as catalysts. Otherwise, we could see this thing go back to this sort of sideways volatile trade that we see with a lot of the healthcare stocks. All right. All right. I see that it's about 10:18, and so I'm going to um, start wrapping things up here. So if there's things that you guys want to ask about, just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to talk about them. Any different companies that you want to see or hear about, those are ones that I'll talk about. Actually, I want to go back and visit Tesla for a moment. I did want to take a look at Square just to see how they're doing, because it's been a while since I've taken a look. So they were actually trading below 200. Now they're up to 253. So 25% increase from the middle of May. Actually, I was deciding between Square and Snow, which one that I wanted to put my money into, and they've actually done quite well. I could have split my money and put them in both, and I think that we would have been all right. So Square, if we look at their company profile, industrial purpose, there we go. Commerce ecosystem, perfect. And if we look at Snow, they're more with data. There we go. Technology, software, IT services. And they've actually kind of this slow upward climb that they have besides sell off, and then right back up. And now they're sort of returning right back to where they were. And I think I got them in the low 200s. So they're actually performing just a little bit under where Square was performing. And I'm certainly not upset with my decision in order to do that. AI3. Sure thing, Bill. All right, let me just make sure they said they were. Oh, nice. Thank you, Turkey. I appreciate that. So for Vaxxer, perfect. So if they have an orally administered COVID-19 vaccine, if that's what you're describing, Turkey, for Vaxxer, that would be excellent. There's a lot of people who would much rather take the pill than receive the vaccine via injection, and that's an interesting idea. I don't know if we have a lot of vaccines that would, I mean, of antibiotics, for bacteria, but vaccines for viruses administered orally, that's interesting concept. I hope that works out well for them. There we go. There you go. I don't know, Bill, if this is the one that you meant for C3 AI, ticker symbol AI. If it's not, just let me know the ticker you wanted, and I'll check it out. Excellent. Endless estimates on this one. So we're actually sitting right now right at the low estimate, and then wow, look at that. That is a very bullish case that we have for the high end for $167. So this thing could nearly triple from where it's at. It's not quite tripling its current price, but in order to reach that, I like to look at the average. We have 10 analysts covering this. And if you look at the distribution, it's mostly buy it. I'm sorry, hold it, or it's going to underperform. And then we have 4 out of 10 saying either buy or strong buy. So if going to the average analyst estimate that we have here, we have like 5 to 8% upside up to the low analyst estimate, and then moving from there, so 60, 30, about 50% upside to the average of those 10. This is one that a company that I keep meaning to read more about, and I just haven't. So it's definitely something I want to check out. So 3D Systems, I see 300. Okay. I just want to take a moment. Perfect. All right, so just a quick look at their chart. Oh boy, they've had a huge sell-off. So these lows were slightly trending downward. Even off the highs, we're slightly trending downward. Where's this at? May 13th. So it's a pretty common date. Ran up to 77 and then sold off again. Buying against the trend, if you're looking for the stock to go up in price, if we're looking for it to appreciate, that can be sort of dangerous. So you'd be really going for fundamentals in the company, and you would ignore this sort of short-term price action that you would have. That's if you believe in the fundamentals and believe in the growth of the company over time. So those are things that you want to look for. So for me, if I was going to make a swing trade off of this, for example, and expecting it to go up in the short term. I don't know that now's the time to do that. If anything, right now it looks like it might drop a little bit further, but this is a company that I don't know enough about to really weigh in, so I can only go off of what's going on in the chart right now. And we are trading below. It looks like we're dancing right around the 50-day. So we could stay kind of wrapping around that 50-day, but still moving slightly downward, but being towards the bottom. Or as I was saying before, if you do put in a new low, so if we come down and we break that 47.22, usually it does bounce back up to at least break that previous all-time low that you had. So the hard part there, as I mentioned before, is timing the market. So also seeing that typically, let me see, typically we'll also have, if it is a bearish trend that we'll have lower highs. You would want to be, if it's a swing play, selling off before we get to that high. But if you buy in now, it's significantly de-risked over if you bought in when it was $183 per share. If we look when that happened, even over here. Okay, so way too excited at first. This must be, looks like it IPO'd. Really super excited about the company, sold off, and then it took more of a normal path, and then tech and high growth sold off until May. So that's a common story, and it hasn't quite recovered the way that others have. So I would look for the story that tells why we're seeing such a depressed price over this time, and see why it's being held down so low. What's keeping it from moving up with the other tech and high growth plays? Those are things that I wonder, just looking at the price action that's taking place. And maybe you know those things. For me, it's just not a company that I read a lot about. Looks like 59.43 all the way down to 56.85. So like $57 to $59, and we're right in the middle of that with its current price at 58.07. So if it's one that you like the long-term look of, that you've looked at their earnings projections, and you factored in their the discount rate that we look at for inflation, for example, run it with 2%, run it with 4%, and see how it would play out. Those are things that could really tell you more about what we should be trading at least looking forward, using forward earnings for AI. So those are the thoughts that I have, just looking at the chart and talking about price action in general. All right. So CCIV, I had this one up a little bit earlier, a little bit more briefly. Let me get my drawing tool out here, trend line, and let's go with, actually, I want to switch to array. There we are. So we go back to May 13th, when things started to turn around for tech and high growth. Our lows right now are sort of tracking along this linear path that we have. So we could see that acting sort of as, no problem, Bill. We could see that acting as a sort of support for us. And so something that if we break below that, then we could start breaking down towards the 50-day that we have. The 200-day is just now setting up. Today's the 7th, and their special meeting is on the 22nd. And the 22nd is a Thursday. Earlier, I couldn't remember. I couldn't think through the calendar. So Thursday is the day of the special meeting. That's on July 22nd. And so Thursday into Friday, we could start to see if that reverse merger gets approved with Lucid Motors, we could see the ticker symbol change Friday or Monday to LCID. So those are the things that we'll want to watch out for in our trading platforms, whatever it is that we happen to use. Webull's usually pretty good at transitioning between the two. Sometimes you get cut off where it won't show you what CCIV did. It'll only show you what Lucid did. Webull seems to handle the transition well, where it changes the ticker, but you still get the price action that happened in the past. I know with Ameritrade, there's been several times, at least in their mobile app, that I went to look and see previous price action for a company that had just undergone a merger via SPAC, and I couldn't see that. But anyway, back to CCIV and Lucid. Around leading up to the 22nd, we could continue to march upward. We did get some higher highs going off the tops of these, so that's always a good thing for us. I don't know if we break that $30 mark. You can see we resisted pretty heavily off of that we got close to it, 29.81. and we just failed to break 30. And then let's look right here across the top of the 50. Even if you look off the 50-day, that kind of takes out some of this noise that we have. We could look at a faster one, something that would be more like a 5-day that would show us a little bit more of support day to day and resistance day to day. Still, that $30 mark, I think that's going to be tough to break. But if we do break above it, I think that gives us a decent amount more room to go upward. I think somewhere from 25 to 30, it's actually, we'll call it a pretty wide range until they get their deliveries going and their production going. That 20 to 30, I know it's a wide range, but anywhere in that zone for prices, I think we could really see it. Now, if EV decides to really take off in the markets, CCIV should take off in the markets with it. And also, if they really do hit that 500-mile range with their Lucid Air, I'm not sure if it's just the Dream Edition or if it's just Lucid Air in general that's going to have the 500-mile range. That's something that's also going to be enormously important for them, because that really is a hard hit to ICE vehicles. Now, Lucid is luxury. They said Mercedes-Benz, BMW are really who they're trying to take on. They're not trying to take on Tesla. And that's a pretty wise marketing move by them to say that they're not taking on Tesla, because I think that the Tesla crowd, and I absolutely adore Tesla, the Tesla crowd would not take well to Lucid saying we are Tesla's competition, because then instead of enjoying the ride along with Tesla, now they'd be in opposition to Tesla. And I don't think that's something that Peter Rawlinson wants to see. So looking at this short term, I think we could see this continuing to act as support. And if we break that, then we can look down to the 50-day, which has turned around sort of back into a bullish place, that we're starting to inflect upwards, that we start to have a positive slope on that one. So we have good signs for that. We have good movement in the EV space right now. We're going to see volatility over time. Semiconductor news, especially if it's negative, is going to drag us down over time. These are all things that we should anticipate for that volatility. It's not going to be a smooth ride as EVs proliferate throughout public transportation and the personal vehicles that we have. It's going to be rocky. It's going to be bumpy. But overall, over long time horizons, it's going to trend upward, as it's already taking off, and it's already starting to have more and more hold on the market, even if it is going to take years to play out. And even if it never really does take over ICE entirely, I think it'll become the predominant one within by 2030. Was really where we could start to see that switch over from majority ICE to more of a majority EV. And the legacy players are going to be a big part of that too, getting people to kind of maybe hang on to their brands a little bit to kind of get them going, like Ford with its F-150, its electric F-150. That's going to be huge, because like, for instance, my dad's a Ford guy. I honestly don't think he would that he would touch an electric vehicle, but by Ford, he might consider it. So I think, especially as you get people behind the wheels, like the Tesla Plaid, for example, get people behind the wheels and really feel what electric vehicle power feels like, that it's smooth, but it's very quiet, and it's almost unsettling to be in an EV. And, you know, because I think people still think, what was the really tiny one, like a Chevy, not the Chevy Cruze. Was it a Volt? Was that Chevy? I think people think like underpowered, low range. You know, they don't think performance, and they don't think enjoyment, and they don't think, you know, something that would really be engaging to drive. And I think that that's starting to change. And as more people experience it, I think that their minds will also change along with it. All right, well, I'll check that out in just a minute. I want to stop by Tesla real quick. There we are. All right, so Tesla, look at that daily chart with the 200-day and the 50, and they're just sort of almost crossing each other. And I wonder how much of this technical indicator could go right along that. Really, the China issues that they've had there, that they're kind of losing some of the market share there. That could be something that's temporary. It could be something that's lasting. You really don't know how much the Chinese government's going to play in it, and then there's also the matter of the Chinese people, which is two different things. Like how much they're going to hold on to Tesla and really still want those vehicles once maybe all the drama passes and everything. Um, there's something we're gonna have to watch out for. I would still say there's definitely still the leaders. The tech is huge for them. The miles driven already is something that can't just be made up through other cars. Data is going to be the king for them in EVs and autonomous driving. And if we do move into self-driving taxis, and Tesla is a huge part of that. If they take that space, then that's a really huge market opportunity as well to get into more of that public transportation and personalized taxi service. So, but then there's also renewables that they have for Tesla as well. So their power walls, storing power from the renewables because it is sort of an intermittent, whether it's wind or solar. Um, their power walls and their battery technologies are also things that we really want to watch out for Tesla, besides their EVs. And they're going to take time to build over time, and their margins should be improving as they build out. So building the machines that build the machines, as Elon Musk said, as they build that out and as their infrastructure really starts to round out over time, then we should really start to see that translate to bottom line and also see increased margins over time. So those are things we want to watch out for Tesla. And for me, if I was going to buy more Tesla, I'd be buying more Tesla under $600 if we should see that happen again. And we'll see where this sell-off takes us if we come down and tag the 50-day or if some of it starts to alleviate. Looking at the level 2 right now, 645. It's kind of jumping around a lot. It's really quickly moving at the moment. Like 645-ish is about where we're sitting, where we find some support coming in. And you can see the fading. Oh, my goodness. We had fading selling pressure and now selling pressure spike. That's just going to be an ongoing battle throughout the day. I'm not going to be going on to I'm not going to be going on through 2 o'clock, but we'll see what the FOMC minutes have to say when they come out. All right, I want to get to what Will was saying. So, hello, Will. I'd like to hear your opinion on MSO's multi-state operator and the cannabis. Thank you, Sinan. I appreciate it. And if I have your name really wrong, let me know and I'll try to pronounce it. Or if you could type out something that would help you, it'd be perfect. All right. And then James also says, thank you, Sinan. I really super appreciate you helping trying to grow this channel. And then Throats on Grow Generation. Okay. So about cannabis, I don't. Let me see. Was it AFA? Did they merge with Tilray? I think so. These are two of the big names that I see in there, and I apologize if they're not. So, Will, if there's a specific ticker that you want to see, just let me know. The legalization in the United States is one of the big things that we're looking for, and then also it's the profitability of the cannabis businesses. And I can't speak too articulately about cannabis for stocks or the companies or the price action. It's so tangled right now to try and push that through. I remember I was watching a documentary the one time on why it's so hard to study, at least in the United States, study any sort of medical effects that and surrounding cannabis can have because of being like, I think it's a Schedule 1 narcotic. And remember, I don't follow these, so if I have this wrong, the comments are right there, and you can definitely help me with that. I appreciate it. But being a Schedule 1 narcotic, you can't. It wasn't legal to actually do experimentation with it. So even if I have some of the terminology wrong, legalization was the issue with studying it. So there might be positive effects that could be reported, and it could be anecdotal, meaning that people would be like, I've used this for pain and it has really helped with pain, or other medicinal uses that might happen to be out there. And the medical studies just couldn't happen. So even if it was sort of known, if people reported on and experienced it, at least the United States hospitals and laboratories, I don't think that they could do anything to, or that it was very difficult at the very least. I don't remember where that line fell in order to do that, to actually do those studies and really see where that comes out. So, really, where does the money come in? When does it translate to a healthy bottom line on their balance sheets? And that's one of the big things that we're going to see with cannabis, at least going forward. So, if there are profitable companies out there, I haven't seen those profitable companies. But remember, I don't follow cannabis. So if you know of them and you want to make me aware of them, just put the ticker in, and we can look at the balance sheets for it and see how they're doing so far. It's just going to be a volatile time. Legislation, legalization, medical uses, FDA approvals. Those are all things that are going to really help out cannabis stock prices over time. Thank you, Sab. I appreciate it. Excellent, Sanan. I appreciate it. All right. So, as far as cannabis goes, I'm going to put up Sundial, not because they're a big company or anything like that. But this is one that one of my patrons in my Patreon, when we talk in Discord, this is one that they were a big fan of, and I believe continues to be a holder. So I haven't looked at this in a while, but I purchased some of their stock, and I don't invest in cannabis stocks. However, because I do know a bit about their price action, I watch it take place. This is one that when I watch it drop below $1, I usually nibble a few shares and wait for it to go back up above $1 because it seems to take us back to $1 eventually. So right now we're at 83 cents. So if we come down and we touch this 200 day, let me see if I can get a better scale for you guys. So if we come down and touch this 200 day below 80 cents, before that has acted as pretty strong support for sundial growers. So if I purchased expecting that to stay as support and then come back up to maybe this 50 day that we would have up here. So if I bought at like 80 cents, we'll call it 80 cents, and then sold up here at 90 cents. So for that, that's 10, 11, about an 11% gain on my money. And usually I don't have to wait that long for it to happen, that we get those sort of fluctuations. Now, I could always buy at 80 cents and watch it not only come down to 65 cents like we saw back over here, or even drop below 70, it could drop even harder than that. So there's always going to be that sort of risk. If we zoom out and look at longer time horizons from this 13, almost 14 cents up to 83 cents that it's at right now, that's not horrible. So if somebody's been in it that long and they believe in Sundial, and like I said, they are a small company, but this is one that I've done a number of swing trades on, and even a few day trades on, just to take advantage of the price action that was happening. So using their volatility in order to take some sort of profit off of that. Sundial's one that I do that for. I believe that they're a company out of Canada. Sundial growers, cannabis production. Yeah, Calgary. There you go. And I think AB is Alberta. So when you look at that, they are out of Canada. They are smaller, and I think that they've done a number of acquisitions. I don't follow them. I don't invest in them, but I have traded them, short swing plays, and I've also done intraday trades on them because they do tend to have a decent amount of volatility. And right now we have a positive uptrend on the 200 day. That's a good thing, although it has dropped down below the 50. So we could be stuck in a little bit of a range. We'll see if it comes down and tags support. And if that support holds, that can be good news because it's above those previous lows. All right. Do you know why the EV stocks right now? All right. Well, we looked at Tesla. We looked at NEO. Let's go to Exxon. There we go. One moment, please. There we go. Now it's back. Let me make sure that it's still showing up on my stream. Okay. Sorry about that. We will Crashed on me there from whatever I did. It didn't like. There you go. So we get a lot of positive news coming out about the Chinese EVs. EVs in general doing pretty well. They had a decent run up. I mean, if you look at this from the middle of May until now, that's a huge run. So when you look at the most recent sell off that I had, that it starts to settle a little bit. Um, to me, this is understandable selling. And if we see it come back down to what we had here after all that selling pressure, tech, high growth EV, SPAC, you name it, things were selling off from February to May. So spending 3 months doing that, and then this rise is actually pretty meteoric. So watching it go 2x, and not definitely not the only company. There's a lot of companies who have doubled in price since May 13th, or even have gained like 50 to 100% from their lows in the middle of May. Um, we're in really good shape right now for XPeng. So when we see this, this could be some profit taking. It could just be some more of that volatility that we have. It could be the fact that we're trading at such high multiples that now some people who are taking those long positions at the bottom have now switched to seeing this as a top, and now they're switching over to some short positions to take advantage of trading off of that high multiple that they might think might be a little bit too rich. Xpeng, I think, is going to be just a giant in China, right along with what we have with Neo. So those are my two favorites, and I don't think that Lee Motors should be discounted either. All right, James says, I like BLOCF. It's cannabis breathalyzer company based Canada, just got patented announced yesterday. Oh, nice. So as a breathalyzer, so like with an alcohol breathalyzer, you breathe into it and it tells you what your blood alcohol is. Um, Cannabis breathalyzer, does it, James, do you know, does it measure like the THC concentration in your bloodstream, or do you have any information on how that works? If it's too long of an answer, you can just say it's a long answer. I just haven't heard of it, so that's pretty cool though. Yeah, so you can see Lee. They were, where were they? They were at 16. Now they're up at 32. They're still over 2x from where they bottomed out in about the middle of May. So when you see this I think is pretty natural to see that sort of settling, and we want to see less volatility. We see slow and steady growth over time. So Sab, I hope that that helps you with what you're seeing right now. So EVs, they're going to trade up and down, and it's going to take a while for them to really grow into to the shoes that have currently been put out for them. So right now they're trading on future value and they're trading on fundamentals, and it's industry growth that you have for EVs. And then you also have the company specifics that also play into it. But right now, they're doing pretty well based off what they've had, and it's natural to see some settling after a pretty long run like that. The bulls tend to tire out, and they need the bears to take over for a little bit in order to sort of recover. And what we're missing out of this whole run up is we're missing a more recent area of support. So we actually want to see that come in so that we can trade a little bit more safely. We can look at historically and see where support came in before. So for Lee, right around that $30 mark could be a psychological support, and also seemed to be where it was sitting before, where it sort of rested back in February and also back here in December. And so we'll see. Looks like these 2 days it tagged about $31. If it comes back down to 30 and holds, excellent. That can be better confirmation for us for Lee's stock price going forward. If it breaks through 30, then, well, we have room down to about 27, so another 10% down from that before it might settle again. It might even come down as far as these moving averages. However, the moving averages are looking great. Positive slope for both of them. The faster indicators coming up to cross the slower one. You know, that'd be a golden cross for us. So I think EV's sitting in a pretty good shape right now. We don't want to see, look how fast that climb was before. And then look what followed that. So here we see a slower climb, still a little bit fast overall, though. The fact that it took under 2 months in order to make that climb, and now it's starting to settle a little bit. I don't think that we're going to rip down as hard as what we saw before, but I do think that if it rests, it's a natural time for it to rest. As people take profits, as people switch their swing trades to a short position where they want the price to go down over the short term, And then when they start to hit support, see signs of reversal, they'll switch it over to being a bullish position again, where they do a long trade on it and ride it back up again. So those are just some things to consider with EV. Cannabis technology. Okay. I just want to read what James is saying. Concentration of bloodstream, use for workforces, law enforcement. Okay, great. All right. Thank you, James. I really appreciate your thorough response. So something else, and I'll speak about it because of its possible impact for the cannabis markets that we have. The Olympian out of Oregon, and I believe the article that I was reading said that, well, I guess she's not going to be in the Olympics this year because of it, because her time trials at the Olympic trials for the 100 meters, she was disqualified for it because of the THC levels that were found in her blood, because it is against the rules or policies, or not in the spirit of the Olympics or something. I don't remember exactly what they said. But in Oregon, I believe that cannabis is legal, and it's legal to have so much of it. It's legal to smoke it. And so for her, she didn't break any law by doing it. However, it went against whatever policies the Olympics have. And so now she's not going to be in the Olympics over it. And that honestly reminds me, like, so I live in Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, I don't believe that it's legal yet. So for instance, if I was just in Jamaica, and in Jamaica, they have legalization. And let's say that I did partake while I was in Jamaica and then come back to Pennsylvania where it's not legal. And let's say that I got hurt at work and there was workers' compensation, and they sent me for a drug test in order to be eligible to receive the workers' compensation. I would have to clear it. I would have to pass it. Well, because I was in Jamaica where it's legal, and if I did partake there and then came here and then got hurt, and then they did the blood test to find out if I was eligible for workers' comp, and they're like, no, you had drugs in your system, so you're not eligible for workers' comp. That's an issue. And I talk about it here because of, well, the cannabis market that we have. And that could certainly be something that would possibly hold back the market and hold back from people who would otherwise maybe participate where cannabis is concerned. So I'm sorry if I spoke since you said you're going to wrap up the attendance. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff, and I should have wrapped up 20 minutes ago. But anyway, I'll finish talking about this, and then I'll wrap up. So yeah, that breathalyzer, James, getting back to what you were saying, that could be something that could possibly help make the case for people. So there were definitely people who were at the resort who did choose to partake in the use of marijuana while they were there. We politely declined, but like I said, in Jamaica, it's just it grows. The one driver who is taking us to the one activity place said it's just a weed here. It grows, and that's why they call it weed. It just grows everywhere. It grows alongside the road. Anybody can just go and pick it. It doesn't happen that way in the United States. But yes, the breathalyzer could be something that might help in those sort of situations to say how recently whatever activity is taking place. And I don't know if it'll have those impacts. It could, and those impacts, that could be something that really changes the market or the company for them. All right. So I want to wrap up. Thank you guys very much for coming along. Keep the eyes on the market for right around, I'd say, leading up to 2 o'clock. So like that 1:30 up to 2, expect any sort of volatility. Right at about 2, we could expect that volatility. And I'd say up to about 2:30. It seems to be that half hour time around the minutes when really people are hearing what's being said and making sense of what's being said. And if we hear too much about speeding along the financial tightening or ending quantitative easing or financial easing, easy money policies, or if we hear things about inflation coming on too rapidly, those are all things that could negatively impact the markets, especially where high growth is involved. When we see those immediate drops, they can certainly, especially if they're really big drops, they can bring along buying opportunities. So keep your eyes peeled. Good luck to you guys. And thank you so much for stopping by. And I guess that I'll see you for tomorrow's live stream. Got a new router, and I'll be hardwiring, and so hopefully the video comes in a little bit clearer, and it just makes a better experience for you guys overall. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.